Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast where I talk to the people in comedy and ask what comedy means to them. You can read about all the many shows I've been to see from over 1,200 comedians over the last 40 odd years, including photos and posters and what the comedians think of me, on my website, thecomedynerd.com. I love talking to the people in comedy about comedy. If you'd like to hear what they have to say as much as I do, then please like, subscribe, rate, review and share the podcast. Thank you. Both actors in their own right, this week's guests, Holly Kellingray and Brooke Jones, have been making a name for themselves as a TikTok character duo with their Surrey Girls and Nifty and Nunu sketches. This year they performed their debut Edinburgh Hour, Mr. Sister, in which through songs and sketches they reaffirm their friendship. Because they're both fun, but together they're, well, funner. Holly and Brooke are character and sketch duo Hooked. So tell me about how you both sort of encountered comedy. How did you start understanding what comedy was and what it could mean to you?
By mistake, really, I guess.
Yeah.
We met each other at Arts Uni in Bournemouth and we studied acting.
Yes.
Which I know everyone was like, oh, actors turned comedians, the worst thing in the world. But that's us, so here we go.
Yeah.
And we did acting and we started Hooked when we graduated. So that was 7 years ago?
Yeah,
7 years ago. And we did acting right up until
last year. And we kind of hit like a
wall. We
kind of,
like,
yeah.
This is so boring. We hate doing this. Nothing's happening. All this work that we're doing. So
it became like not very enjoyable, really. And then we had like a lot of our friends who also enjoyed writing like comedy sketches. And we used to run like scratch nights that were a bit more theatre based. So we kind of had like the foundations there. And then we started filming a few sketches with a couple of our friends, just like in the summer. And then we really enjoyed it. And we were like, oh, maybe we should just do some of this ourselves and put it online. And maybe we can make some of our scratch nights more comedy based. And that was it, really. It just kind of like went from there. And we were like, wow, this is so much funner. And just
so much funner.
So much funner.
I think, we just have right good giggle, don't we?
Yeah.
I think before when we were trying to write plays and shit like that, it would just be horrible. We'd be sat in the National Theatre, sat opposite each other with our laptops out, pretending to write, and then be like, have you written anything? No, I've not written anything. We can't think of the end. All of that kind of crap. And it was just tiring. So now when we make comedy, it kind of, we feel a bit more free to just try things. And if they don't work, they don't work. Whereas when we were writing plays and stuff, I felt like this has to be the most groundbreaking play in the world, otherwise everything fails. So I feel like we just are a bit more lax with it all now, and we just try things out. We have a bit of fun while we're doing it as well. So yeah, we just try to make each other laugh. I think that's what's good about being a comedy duo as well.
Yeah.
When one person's run out of steam, the other one's, providing the giggles. So it brings the energy back up.
Yeah. Did you go directly from writing serious to writing full-on comedy, or did you sort of slowly inject more humour in over time?
Weirdly, it was like the first play that we did for Camden Fringe was literally every single genre of theatre you could think of put into a 1 hour play. It was like there was physical theatre, there was projections, there was like kind of character comedy, there was a bit of spoken word, there was literally everything. So at that point we were writing funny characters. Like there was this bit in the play, it was about social media, obviously, and there was this bit about dating profiles, and that bit was like really funny. That was probably the best bit in the play.
Probably very similar to what we do now, actually. So I think that there's elements that when you look back, it wasn't like just a complete dramatic shift and was
like, I feel like our journey went like this. It was like a bit of everything, straight crazy drama, then back to just back foolish nonsense.
Yeah.
So we tried a bit of everything.
And we used to write a lot of like when we did our scratch nights and stuff, we used to write these sort of like 15-minute short like comedy spoken word sketches. They were very niche, very, very niche.
Lots of characters.
But they were all character based. So and they were funny. So I think that kind of we took that element from that.
We did our toe in there.
Yeah. When you're writing for your sketches, then you come up with characters. When you switch between an isolated sketch, so like, these people aren't going to recur necessarily, but then you write as a character, like you've got Surrey Girls or something. Do you like fall in love with the character and say, I would just want to keep exploring what they might come up with?
Yeah, definitely.
So. And you just embody it. And a lot of our work, I think, comes from the character first.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you've got a bit of a mental block, you could be like, let me just think about the Surrey Girls and what they think about, because then ideas flourish. So yeah, I think we find the characters first and then sketches were born from them. But then we also, more with our live stuff, I guess, have more of the classic kind of sketch when it's more of a concept rather than character based. But definitely with our content, it derives from characters
for sure.
Yeah. So, like you said there, what would Surrey Girls do? Do you address that in everyday life, in every situation? Because if you start with the character, do you then, I'm in a situation where something minor, terrible has just happened, and then you go, what would they do? And then you write for them, kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes if we've been like out together, like not actually just working, because obviously like we spend a lot of time together, like sometimes we've just been like, oh my God, like we just, it comes into our brain of the characters and we'll film something right there and then we'll write something.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely kind of changes the way you think in your day-to-day life.
And I've got a secret as well, because actually I am a Surrey girl, so really it's just my life. I am from Surrey, so
I'm not.
Something just happens in my normal day life and I say, Holly, we should just
do this.
Do something about that.
Well, that's another interesting question, is how much of you is in your characters? Because is it like you dialed up to 11 or dialed right down?
Dialed right down. No, I think more is the fact that I am from Surrey, but I'm not a typical Surrey girl. So what I do is I just think about all the people that I know from school.
You think about the people you met throughout living in Surrey, so it makes it like slightly easier to
Well, that's what comedians do, don't they? They see something and then they dial it up or they make a comment on it. So I think that's definitely where the Surrey Girls came from, just walking around lovely Coulson town.
But do you keep your butter in the fridge?
I don't get real butter, I get clover. I'm not a Surrey girl.
There you go, she's not a Surrey girl.
How much do you improvise when you're going to do like a reel or a sketch? Is it all scripted, or do you start coming up with an idea and say, oh, quick, get the camera out, let's film this kind of thing?
It's half and half.
It's a bit of both. We were just talking about this earlier, weirdly. But when we first started, it was maybe a little bit more improvised. It was a bit more like, here's the concept, let's just give it a go. And then as we started doing more and more sketches and was trying to roll out more content, we kind of would both come with like written ideas and specifically write them, which also was beneficial in some cases. And then today we just said, maybe let's try and go back to a little bit more like improvised work as well. So I think it just depends on the type of sketch, the type of
like how well you know the character. Because the one that we just filmed just before this, because I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like the Puff Mamas. So they're like neighbours and they're always in dresses, they're obsessed with vaping. And it's very kind of Harry Enfield-esque, I'd say.
Yeah.
But when we first filmed that, we kind of just felt like we knew the character straight away.
Yeah.
We knew exactly what kind of people they were. And we just rolled with it. And we just thought, let's just try and film some stuff. And just, because sometimes when you say things on a whim, it's funnier,
Yeah.
So I think it's about how well you know the characters as well.
Yeah.
Because
then
you just know what they're going to say.
Yeah. You said a little bit about things being easier being in a duo. Does that afford you a little bit of protection? Because, in the sense that like, I've talked to a couple of musical comedians about being able to be afforded like a shield by having an instrument in front of you. Or as actors, if you've been part of an ensemble, you're supported, encouraged, protected, if you like, by the rest of the cast. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like we always, like our journey as creatives has always been together, and I think the big part of that is the fact that we're a duo. And I think we always say like we could never have done this by ourselves. I think we've kind of brought out the confidence in each other, and you do have that little bit of protection, because it's not just me doing like a wacky video of myself looking embarrassing. It's like it's both of us, and it makes you like
and it's also not just the content or being on stage, it's the afterwards as well. Because say if we just did a shit gig, if I was by myself, I'd just be going into a hole and being like thinking about all the bad things. But if we've done a shit gig, there's not been loads, okay, but if we've done a shit gig, then we are talking to each other afterwards. We'll be like, it wasn't that bad because there was this, and then there's another outlook on it, and you kind of bring each other up. So I think it's almost not even that's important. It's the afterwards, and it's the support that you have from each other
100%
off stage and offline.
And just day to day as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, obviously, especially like with the Fringe and stuff, like
it was hard.
It can be very intense. It can be very hard, you know, like living in London, we're trying to live like day-to-day lives as well, trying to make a living and then trying to do everything on top. So it definitely just...
You give each other that oomph to just keep going. And
she gives me a kick up the bum when I need it.
Yeah.
So.
And do you need it?
Sometimes.
She
does. Sometimes.
And again, you mentioned about having fun on stage. So how much is fun and how much is work? Because you look, let me put it another way, you look joyful on stage.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really like about your act and a lot of the people I talk to. And one of the first things that interests me in their performance is the joy that they put on the stage. So how much of it is still joyful? Is it being on stage that's joyful, or is the run up to it, is the work and the writing still fun for you?
Got the run up to it because I'm just so scared.
I think,
but on stage, I think it definitely is. I think that's also to do with comedy too. Obviously, there's stand-ups and people that do things singularly that also are joyful. But I think because there's that playfulness between us, we're not only just trying to make the audience laugh, trying to make each other laugh when we're on stage. And I think that brings the fun into it, because I was thinking before we went up to Edinburgh, I was like, how are we going to do the show? How many times? 24 times, and it's not going to be boring. But because we had each other and we were kind of challenging each other and pushing each other on stage, it makes us laugh and it makes us have a good time. So,
and also when we did our work in progress back in January, obviously it was our first time like doing like a full hour of like live sketch and comedy, and we both walked away from that like that was so fun. Like, so I think from then we kind of knew that like we were going to enjoy it. Obviously doing Edinburgh for the first time, we were still obviously nervous, but we did rehearse a lot. So we knew the show like the back of our hand. So we never really went over lines and stuff. We genuinely just kind of had to get on stage and just enjoy it. And I think also that comes from, I think obviously some days, some sketches you'd prefer better than others, but that can just depend on like the audience and how you're feeling. But I think, it just comes down to sort of it being a duo. And also you don't want to let your partner down. You know, if you're having like a bit of a rubbish morning or afternoon, like it just gives you that like oomph and that kind of like, you know, let's do this because we'll feel so good together after.
I think it's the chemistry that you have that brings the joy out of it, because you're not alone up there, you're having fun with your friend.
So here's a question. I mean, they're all questions, so that's obvious, but the when you've got your script and you're performing on stage, I mean, you strike me as two fun people. So do you like to trip each other up? Do you play with it a little bit and you go, you know, tonight's not going the way I thought it was, so I'm just going to start tipping the boat?
The last show in Edinburgh, I don't know what happened to me. I was just kind of like,
she just started
a bit hungover, to be honest. And I just, I can't remember what it was now.
I can't remember what you did either.
Oh yeah, there's this line where I say that basically there's a sketch and it's called Date in the Dark, and it's all, well, you saw it. It's all it's basically a dark restaurant, and this person's dating this person who is also playing all the other people in the restaurant, unbeknownst to the other date. And at one point, I always say that I'm Pamela Anderson. And then for some reason, I was just like, I'm just going to say I'm Simon Cowell, because I know it's going to make her laugh. And it was the last show, so I was just like, F it, let's just say it. So yeah, I was just coming up with loads of random stuff. It's totally random.
Just totally random,
And then what else was I doing? Oh yeah, at the end, I was just getting people to come up and we have a vape break in our show because we are addicted. So that is actually more of a logistical thing rather than a joke. And I just was like, come on, everyone get out, come vaping. And it was just, I think and that's what I love about Edinburgh as well. Not the fact that, well, it was the fact that we did the show 24 times, and obviously we've not done it before. Loads of people have done Edinburgh loads of times, but because it was our first time, I think I really grew, well, both of us really grew as performers. And I think coming to that last show, I was just so comfortable on that stage. I was just like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And I don't care what Holly says.
No, and I think it was good. I think gradually throughout the whole run, both of us did. Like, we have a bit earlier in the show as well. That's like, Brooke changes every night and I have to improvise. So that was good, because obviously I was like, what is it going to be today? And those little bits. And I think just generally, because we talked to the audience quite a lot, like in between the sketches as well, I think we became a lot more confident, a lot more relaxed, a lot more sort of like colloquial and kind of like,
well, that was what was good as well. I think that was what was a bit more out on a limb as well, that through the course of the run, we became way more comfortable with the audience. I think before, probably, well, in January, if we had an audience and they were kind of not really responding, like, I remember this one bit in one of the shows in Edinburgh. I reached out to someone. They just literally looked at me like I had handed them a plate of shit. Like they just hated me. And at the start of the run, I probably would be really bothered by that. But then towards the end of the run, I was just playing with the audience. And I think that was what was more fun.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'd have a show and right from the start, they'd be laughing and they'd be really on board, which is amazing. Obviously, that's what you want. But I found it really fun to have the challenge of maybe an audience that were a bit quieter. I mean, our show was at like 1 o'clock in the day, so
it's hard.
No one was on the bevies yet. And if they were quiet at the start and then towards the middle, they got a bit louder. And at the end, they were really on board. I found that really good accomplishment.
Yeah.
I felt really...
We won them over. We
won them over.
Yeah.
And just playing around with the audience
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you say no one was drinking. This is Scotland we're talking about. So
honestly, before I went, I was like, people will have beers, 100%. When I've gone to the Fringe before, I always have a beer at the kind of like lunchtime show. No one had a drink. I was like, we're gonna have to start handing out sour shots because they need to have a few bevies before they see this craziness.
Yeah.
So, including the things that you just mentioned, how much did the show change? Not only from previews months before, but also from the start to the end of the festival. 24 days is a long time.
A lot. We cut
the previews. We cut lots of
changed loads from the previews, and then we cut a lot. We cut a lot.
We cut the baggage, like
just give us room to like improvise and room to kind of like have audience interaction. And obviously sometimes it takes longer than other days, so we kind of just cut a lot of the crap, cut the bits that we were like.
I think sometimes as well you don't trust your audience, like they're not going to get this. So we need to say this, we need to say that, we need to say this. But if they don't get it all completely, then that's fine. Like, I think you should just cut the crap and just get them with the jokes.
So I think
rather than explaining everything, which is what I felt like we had to do.
And it changed kind of throughout. Like one of our Nifty and New sketch in the middle, we changed that so much. Like we went back and forth. We took bits in, we took bits out. We really, because there was something that we felt wasn't right with like the transition and the ending. And honestly, every single day it changed.
I think we're really happy with it.
Yeah, and I think that was just so amazing to be able to do. Like you don't get to do that often. Yeah. And I think if we were to then look back, when we were to next look back at the script after having some time away from it, we'll probably have loads of bits that we want to change, loads of ideas. But I
reckon if we looked at the script, it would be totally different to what we were just doing in Edinburgh. Yeah. Because you do slight changes every day. And if we had to look back at it, we're like, what? We've not said that for the whole month. So I think that would be funny because, you just change bits every day, don't you?
Yeah. Do you leave things in that are just for you, even if maybe they didn't play well to audiences? Do you just keep little inside jokes for yourselves?
We tried that once. There was this one bit in our previews. And when we did it in rehearsals, we laughed so much. You know what bit I'm going to say?
Oh, my God.
There was this bit that I can't even remember what it was now. So I pretended to get someone and like beat them up. And I was just doing it so stupidly, but it made Holly laugh so much. And we were like, this is going to go down like a treat. This is hilarious. It's so funny. And we showed some of our close friends who were kind of in the industry before we did our previews. And they were like, yeah, I loved it. I'm not really sure about what was going on. Why were you beating someone up? And I would love to have kept that bit in. It was so funny for us too, but literally no one found it.
I think it was just maybe our like.
I think it was a bit self-indulgent.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit self-indulgent because I still think it's hilarious.
Yeah,
but
it's funny.
I think it's probably only funny because we're best friends.
Yeah.
This is your first festival performing and out. So how was your festival experience as a whole?
Really good.
Oh, yeah, really amazing.
It feels like it didn't really happen now, which is probably what everyone says. I think it's very much a bubble, isn't it? It's just like a little month of your year that kind of feels, so you don't do anything that you would usually do at home. It's all very different. It felt like I was at uni again, to be honest.
Yeah, it was very intense. Like I think the just, I remember at the start of the month thinking like, oh my God, there is like, this is going so slowly. There's so much to do. So in that sense, but I think you kind of go into like autopilot. Yeah, you go into autopilot.
You do the same thing every day.
You just got to get through it and go with the flow and be open. So I think, but generally, I think for our first run, like I'm really pleased with how it went. Like we didn't have any production company behind us. It was literally just us. So I'm like proud that we, we managed to have like,
it was like a really positive run.
Yeah.
We've learned lots of stuff. Like you're going to laugh at this. Before we went, we genuinely did like a £300 Tesco order to do like meal prep. We're going to do this. We bought I kid you not, probably 60 of those baguettes that you put into the oven. Do you know, like those part baked?
Yeah.
We were like, we're gonna make that today. We had so many.
It was so
we were
naive.
staying with a production company, and they were like, "Oh, we've got enough baguettes." And I was like, "I'm cooking." So embarrassing. But we had loads of salmon in the freezer. No, this is so wasteful of us. We didn't eat any of it.
We like the first week we cooked, but and then obviously by then you're
just
knackered.
I just wanted
takeaway. Yeah.
But yeah, that was just the baguettes, just so many baguettes.
So we just ended up being like, guys, you're here more than us. Like we were never there. I don't know what we were expecting.
Love the baguette.
Did you take the opportunity to see other shows, see other performers?
Yeah, we saw a lot actually. We tried to see as much as possible because obviously we wanted to support other people. Also wanted to just see
just keep our creative flowing.
We made lots of friends, so we obviously wanted to go and support friends and stuff.
What was some of our favourite shows? I can't even remember. We loved Bill O'Neill,
The Amazing Banana Brothers.
It was phenomenal. It was batshit.
So good.
It was
I've
crazy.
never seen anything like that.
It was one of those things that when I watched it, I was like, I'm not sure if I enjoyed that. It was like you really have to process it, and then the next day I was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen. It was just a lot happened, and there were so many layers to it. It was so hilarious, and he's such a dedicated performer.
Oh my god!
I don't want to give too much away, but he must be covered in bruises because the way he throws himself across that stage. It's amazing. But yeah, there's so much to process in that show. So I love that show.
My Last Two Brain Cells.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're our friends prior to the Fringe, but their show's so good. Catherine
and Pierre.
It's an amalgamation of things. It's drag, physical theatre, mime. But they're two
Katy Perry musical.
It's all Katy Perry music. It's such a beautiful story, and they're such dedicated performers as well. And it's so funny. Really good.
We saw these multiple times as well because we were like, this is so good.
That's really good.
We saw so many things.
Josh Weller was really good.
Oh yeah,
really
Josh
Weller. Did you see that?
That's another show that's changed quite a lot. I've seen it in about 3 different works in progress.
Really?
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
That's the first time we'd ever seen him perform before. So yeah, we were on side from the get go.
Yeah,
really good. What else did we see? Anya Magliano, obviously really good. Everyone knows that. That was the first time we'd seen her before. Actually.
Yeah,
we just liked her so much. She's so likable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Why can you not remember anything?
That's so bad, isn't it? What Tom did, and he wrote everything down on his phone.
Yeah, he did.
I was like, I'm not as organised as that. I can't even remember.
But they're obviously the ones that were our favourites, I guess.
Yeah,
they're the ones that are coming to mind.
Yeah,
but yeah, really good.
I have to keep track of everything on my phone. So I saw 138 shows in Edinburgh.
That's mad.
But I couldn't tell you what they were.
Yeah.
So there's 3,500 shows at the Edinburgh Festival. About 600 of them are exclusively comedy shows. How do you feel about competing for an audience with all these other shows? How do you feel about competition in general? Are you competitive?
Are we competitive?
Yeah, we were. And I think we were probably more competitive at the start when we were flying because we had all the energy and we were like, come see our show. But then afterwards we were like, we're just happy if we've got at least an audience. And also, I think it's obviously good to be competitive because I think it's synonymous with being driven, I guess, because you want something to happen, but also
you can't be too competitive.
Yeah, you don't want to be too competitive.
Takes over and it's just like a competition. So I think we had a fairly good balance for it. Yeah. I think we were pretty lucky. Bar one day, we were in double digits for audiences, and that was just solely from us and stuff. So I think that's really successful, and
I was happy with that.
Yeah,
and sometimes some of the bigger audiences were crap, and the smaller ones were better. So I think it's about the quality, not the quantity.
Yeah, for sure, makes such a difference.
Yeah. What about entering competitions that are competitions, things like Sketch Off, that sort of thing? We did Sketch Off last year, and we did comedy.
Was it last year? Was it this year?
Oh, Sketch Off. Sorry, no, Sketch Off was this year. We did Comedy Crowd TV's shorts last year.
We made the
shortlist, yeah,
which was really cool.
So probably, I think that's open
we'll do
now,
that again.
Actually, yeah.
And then we did Sketch Off, but we didn't get through. But now looking back, I'm thinking I can see why we didn't get through.
Yeah,
we've grown so much as performers and in our comedy writing and everything like that. That the sketch that we did for Sketch Off was the wine one at the beginning of our show, but it is so different to what it is in the show now. So I feel like if we did the one that we've got now, that would be straight through. No, I'm joking. That we've grown so much, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't get through, because I think we'll have a better chance of doing it really well,
more informed.
Yeah. When you see other comics, other sketch acts or characters, do you see them as face value, or do you sort of dissect what they're doing, or say, I could do that better or different, or that's an idea that we've done or that we could work with?
I mean, there's only so many ideas in the world, so there's always going to be crossover. We see more online, I guess, when comedians and stuff are doing stuff online, we're like, oh, that's literally very similar to what we've done before. But you kind of have to let go of that. It happens. They probably didn't copy you. It's just there's only so many ideas in the world, and they probably thought the same thing. So I would never think, kind of we can do it better. But I don't know. I
think people have different styles.
Yeah, they do.
And that suits different types of audiences. So I think
seeing stuff is only going to inspire you more. So I would just, I like to go and see stuff to kind of think, oh, they've done that really well, or they've done this something differently to how I would have done it. But I think that just only grows kind of your ideas in your mind. So I think you slightly do dissect it, I guess, because you think, oh, I would have ended it this way, or I wish they just cut that bit out.
Yeah.
But also if you're really enjoying it, then you don't really think anything, I don't think, because you're just so there with them. You haven't got time to think about what you do differently.
Yeah.
You kind of just think, oh, I wish I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your characters, when you become that character, are you playing the role dramatically? Is it the actors in you? You're playing a comic character, but from a dramatic perspective.
Yeah, I guess so. I think that's changed slightly, but I think that's definitely how we've started off, and I think that's still there a little bit in us. Like the sort of like.
Well, yeah, it's because we've had years of becoming a character, and I think that's why maybe when we do write sketches, we say that we first of all become the character and think about what they'd think and the ideas that they'd think. So I guess
that's definitely a part of that for sure. I think
it's easier for us to become a character because we've done it for ages. So rather than thinking first and then playing it, we become the character and then think of the ideas. So I think that's the biggest thing that we've taken from being actors first. Just embodying the characters and thinking how they think.
Which comes back to what you were saying before, what would the Surrey girls do in this situation?
Yeah, I think that's definitely helped us in that sense.
Yeah.
It's more just our way of working, I guess. People have different ways of working.
We are doing accents and stuff like that. So
and that's just the way that we've been trained to work.
Yeah. In that sense, on the matter of the way that you approach things, what about the division of labour? Is one of you the ideas person and one is the script writer, or do you both come at each other with ideas that you work on it together? How does it come together?
I think it varies, like over time. Like there's probably periods where Brooke's coming up with more ideas than I think. We're quite receptive to each other, and we understand each other very well. So if someone's done quite a few things, they might just say, "You like to do that," and we're quite we're open with that. So I think it varies. Sometimes somebody's a bit more of the ideas person. It does just vary. I think
it just balances itself out.
Yeah.
We are organised as well, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You have to be very organised.
Dedicate time to do stuff in the week. So we'll meet each other at least twice a week, and we'll get a lot of work done then.
Yeah.
So if you've got a burning idea for an amazing sketch, then you're going to write it down before you see each other. So
yeah. And how, for want of a better phrase, how kind of in sync are you in that sense? Does one of you come up with an idea and the other is saying, "Oh my God, I was just literally just thinking about that. I'm writing it already," or just shoot you down and that's the worst idea anyone's ever had?
We'll definitely say to each other the idea.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you were reading one out the other day, weren't you? And you were like, I have no idea what I was talking about. And I was like, let's just park it there. Because I don't know anything.
I look back at my notes and I was like, what the hell is that? I was trying to resurrect it. And I was
you get our phone.
I was like, I don't even think that I can resurrect that.
Often as well, you think of something just before you go to sleep. There's definitely some funny things in there.
You write something random down, but then it doesn't make sense the next day.
And you're like, huh? I'm trying to find some.
Yeah. So, but sometimes we have some ideas. It's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about something like that. Or sometimes we even get suggestions online. Somebody will comment on our underneath some of our daytime TV ones, or spoofs, and they're like, can you do this? So those are also like they help.
Like, I've just found one. I have no idea what this means. Ice cream van, often licked but never beaten. What does that mean? I have no idea. It was obviously a sketch idea. Don't know what it means. So our phones are filled with those kind of things, and we obviously park that because there's no sketch about
that's
ice cream vans, often licked, never beaten.
Not yet.
Maybe it's a tagline for an ice cream van. I don't know.
Yeah. Mine's so random.
So you said about someone making a comment under a video. Do you get like a lot of feedback or ideas or criticisms?
Yeah, we do. We get all sorts. I mean, mostly we get positive stuff. People saying, love your content, or make more of this, or you guys are so funny for women. No, I'm joking. No, we have had that actually. A lot. But we also, I think the things you cling on to are the bad comments. We do get some bad comments, obviously, on some videos that have gone viral, which is a good thing because it's like getting more people to see our platform and stuff. But I think because we're women, they're usually about physical appearance. So luckily, I think it doesn't really affect us, to be honest. I don't really give a shit. But I know that it would affect, especially I think because we're 27 now. I think if I was getting those comments when I was 18 or 21, then I think it would affect me a lot more because I wasn't as stable in myself and probably didn't love myself as much.
Yeah, you're a bit more influential.
Yeah, so
influenced easier, and but as you get older, you're
and I think that's always the stuff that they comment. I just think this is so generic, and you're just saying this to a woman because you think it's going to upset them. But at the end of the day, you don't really give a shit. We just like to reply back to them.
I know, and then people will reply back like, "Oh no, you're only replying to the negative things." I'm like, yeah.
You like to have an argument,
I'm like, let me argue with you. Let's go.
I know, I'm like, I want a conversation. I'll drop my number. We can talk this through.
Let's talk.
You're obviously going through a lot of trauma right now. You have to dump on our posts.
Yeah.
That's the only bad stuff that we get, really.
Yeah. So when you're writing sketches, do you think about, hey, we should throw a political message in here or something? We should address some of these things, or is it just got to be about the fun first and foremost?
I mean, sometimes it comes up like with certain obviously topics. Like obviously, sometimes there's always like maybe something.
I don't think we'd go fully out political statement, but we might make a comment that would.
But if something
be
comes
funny,
up,
but people would probably think, actually, that's exactly what those men are like, or that's exactly what my grandma would say, kind of thing. But maybe that would be something for the future. I think right now we're still trying to find our feet in our comic voice.
Yeah,
and once we're really grounded in that, then we'd probably like use that our platform because we've got people that follow us and hopefully they'd follow us because their views are aligned with us. But I think about finding our comedy voice and being really planted in that, and then maybe we could shake some shit up,
shake some shit up.
Good phrase. So there's other kind of feedback as well. Nice line in the Evening Standard, and it highlighted you as one of the 12 rising stars set to break out this year. How do you feel about that kind of thing?
That was nice. I was happy. I was so happy.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice moment. It was just really, really cool. I think that was one for the grandmas. To send to your grandma and be like, hey, look, it's actually working out.
I called my grandma and she was crying. Oh, so cute.
It was really nice. It doesn't mean everything, obviously.
No, but it's always nice to get like a bit of recognition for sure. I think obviously like especially with online content these days, like the comedy world is becoming very populated. So I think to sort of be picked out as one of the top 12 rising stars, I think it was just, it's nice. It gives you that little pat on the back that, a little confidence, especially because we don't really have like a production company or producer or anyone like above us being able to like feed us with some sort of like positive reinforcement. It was nice to get that from the press.
Do you put a lot of stock in reviews generally, or do you read reviews, or do you read them after the event, like at the end of the run?
We read them, but I think it's kind of like the comments that I was saying about on like reels and stuff. It's like one person. So if we do get any negative feedback, then we're just kind of like, don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Seriously, I don't care. You take it or leave it. Yeah. And obviously there's always some constructive stuff and you can take that if you want. You don't have to. I think we're very much our own selves now and we like the comedy that we make. So I was going to really change that. I think, it's not for everyone anyway. Like, some people comment on some of our videos online, like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, like, this is so
weird. You guys are on crack kind of thing. But it's the stuff that we like to make, and it's the stuff that makes us laugh and our friends laugh. And I think, well, actually, when our friends came to see our preview, or was it our show? I can't remember. They were like, it felt like we wrote that script. It was like, do you know, like the Wilsons and stuff? They were like, it felt like we wrote that script.
Work in progress in January.
It was so our humour, and I think it is a kind of the niche kind of humour, but it's the stuff that makes us happy. And we'd rather have a dedicated kind of smaller following that like kind of the weird stuff that we make, rather than making it really, really broad, because I don't think we'd enjoy it as much.
No.
Well, that's another thing about social media. Obviously, you're putting a lot of online content, which is broadcast to the globe. So does everything translate culturally? Do you get comments from people who just don't understand? Do you get that kind of feedback saying, it's candy in the US, not sweet?
Yeah. We did a sketch about geezers in the pub. And it was so funny because it went kind of viral. And then loads of people from like America or Australia were commenting like, I think my dad's a geezer, or like, what's a geezer? I think that my granddad might be one of these, and stuff like that. It was so funny.
Yeah,
but it was good because they translated, but they just didn't know what a geezer was.
Yeah. We have a lot of like mostly UK, but like Australian.
Yeah, we look at our analytics.
Yeah,
a lot from Dublin as well.
A lot from Dublin, and Edinburgh, I think, actually now as well. So it is very British humour. Like, I do think we obviously tap into some of these sort of like American spoofs, but they're probably more for a British audience, I'd say.
So they're taking the American stuff.
So I think in some senses it does translate, but our humour is very British.
Yeah.
So it's part and parcel, really.
Yeah. So for an international listening audience, a geezer is a giant plume of water. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what so far then have been your best and worst moments in comedy?
I think probably one of our worst moments, but I look back at it fondly now, is the first gig that we did.
Yeah, oh my God.
It was the first gig, and we did our wine tasting with Posh Ladies sketch, and it was very much in its early stages.
I forgot half the lines.
I think she definitely forgot half the lines.
It was just after what was it?
It was I'm not very good with football. Was it Euros?
Euro semi-final or something?
Something like that.
So there was loads of drunk people in the audience. It was
a free comedy night, as you do. Like, all of them were being from the pub into this back room. So it was very much that demographic. And it was a purely stand-up night.
It was horrendous.
And I was quaking in my boots going up there.
And it was horrendous for us, not like it was just...
They just didn't get it at all. And we weren't introduced as like a sketch or character comedy. They just probably thought, who are these ladies with duvet sheets in there, tucked in their t-shirts?
I definitely personally didn't feel like I had the right confidence either. So it just was like, what was going on? Like, yeah, that was horrible.
But now I look back and I think, oh, what young people 7 months ago.
Yeah. And the best thing, I'd maybe even just say like our last show at the Edinburgh Fringe. Like, I think that was just, it was so fun. And it was
Saturday night, Saturday day.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that weekend.
So it just felt like, we've really accomplished this. Like, we worked so hard for like 7-8 months, like organising all of it, and we've done it. Like, so I think that was a real, maybe, I'd say it's near the best.
Yeah,
that was really cool, I think.
And just looking back at what the show was at the beginning to what it is now, and just thinking how much I remember just feeling really proud of us, but also just proud of Holly. Like, at the end, we were bowing together, and it's just so nice to share that moment. So yeah, probably that.
And you alluded a little bit to the speed with which things change, because obviously you've not been in comedy an enormous amount of time. You must have learned some important lessons quite quickly, I imagine.
Yeah, we've learned a lot, I think. I think that you have to surround yourself with lots of people that make you laugh as well. I think, especially in Edinburgh, but pre-Edinburgh as well, we kind of made our own kind of group of friends that all did comedy. Some of them did different comedy to us, they just straight up stand-up, or they did more sketch. And just having each other's kind of back, I think that really felt prevalent in Edinburgh, because, we'd go and support each other's shows. We'd pick each other up if we had a shit show. I think because comedy is so lots of audiences when you're performing comedy are very much make me laugh then. And I think because you've got that pressure on you all the time when you're performing, I think it's important to have that kind of close-knit of friends that are kind of in the industry and understand how you feel. And I think that we've really got that support network now of people that, like, if we were to go to Edinburgh again, we'd have those people and we'd feel very supported and ready to go. I think that's very important. But also to not really care that much, I think.
Not to care too much about what other people are thinking. Like, you know, if you try and care too much about that and try and impress people or try to make people laugh, I just don't think that works.
Yeah, it doesn't make people laugh.
You just have to trust the pre-work that you've done.
Yeah, and just trust it, because not everyone's going to find you funny, and also you're not going to know if something's funny unless you try it. So you should just try it.
Yeah.
And don't really care, because no one's going to remember it in a few days if you fell flat on your ass, unless you fell really flat on your ass. But I think
if they do remember it, then great memory for them.
Yeah, and they remembered you, so there we go. That's what.
What about where you've taken characters from online, put them online, you've had a lot of successful feedback. How does it translate to stage? What are the key differences for you between live performance and the online performance?
But you can take things slower. In TikTok and on Instagram and stuff, I think people are obsessed with the hook. It's like, oh, it's all about the hook. Like, you need that first hook in the first 2 seconds. But with stage, you can slow things down a little bit, because
people are there,
and I mean, they might leave, but they can't leave. They can if they're really rude, but they usually don't leave, so they're there with you anyway. So you've got that bit of time to kind of build on the character and build to that funny moment.
Yeah.
Whereas online, I feel
online people are just scrolling. Like, obviously, like, if you're a recognizable face, people will sit and watch. Or if there is like a really good hook and it's something that just happens to catch that person's attention, then they're going to watch. But you can't guarantee, you really can't control what happens on the other end, unless you're like a specialist in algorithm and stuff. But that's like a whole nother job, you know. So
people have that job.
People do have that job. So I think, you know, you can just slow it down. You can, like, we change so many different things. Like, we had, you know,
I think it was like the Nifty New News one. So it's like our daytime TV presenter spoof, and we were having trouble with it because we took that from online. I think at the start we were really just diving into it and just starting it, but then when we kind of progressed onto the show and where it is now, is we had a kind of more of a build up to it. We were on stage, we were those characters rather than just starting it. Which is what we do online. I think there is, it's to pacing, I think.
What about nerves and anxiety? Do you get nervous before the start of a show or starting a new bit? Or does the support of one another help to allay that little?
You get nervous.
I think I get more nervous.
Yeah.
I get, like, just before I go on, so like 2 minutes before I go on, if I'm hearing audiences come in, I'll get like a surge of like anxiety. But yeah, I surprised myself, because I used to be a really anxious like performer, like doing drama, like straight theatre, but I don't know why. I don't know if it was because in Edinburgh I was like, you know what, this is the time to just say fuck it and give it a go, that I was just like, actually, I'm not nervous. I'm just gonna.
I was a wreck every morning. I wasn't towards the end, actually, but for the first like week or two, perhaps, I was just really nervous in the mornings.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I really believed in the show, and I really, as soon as I got on stage, I wasn't nervous at all. I think, that's why it was the thought of having a show at like 9 p.m, even though obviously it's probably a more suited crowd, I'd be dead. I'd be so scared. I'd be so nervous all day.
But I think we would have got like more sleep, like we'd had more rest, like we had to like get like, I think like there was also anxiety around the fact that we were just so early, like we couldn't like relax into the day kind of thing.
Yeah. True.
But yeah, I mean, I guess there's no really perfect slot, is there, at Edinburgh? There's so many time slots. But yeah.
You said about some of the shows that you saw at Edinburgh. Do you still get people who inspire you or influence you?
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, like we were saying earlier, I think if we, like, at the first week of Edinburgh, we didn't really see that many shows. I think we were very involved in our own show.
Yeah.
And we're nervous and we're just taking things slowly. But after we started seeing shows, especially good shows, we felt very inspired. And I think you should immerse yourself in all of that stuff. I think lots of the people that inspire us are people that make like broadcast sketches and stuff. Like we love Tim Robinson and people like that.
Harry Hill.
Love that Harry Hill. I actually saw him live recently. It was really good. He was mental. It was only a 10-minute slot and he was just crazy. And I was just like, I just love this guy. And like Jamie Demetriou and stuff like that. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, a lot of the people they make TV shows and stuff like that. Which is obviously we filmed a pilot last year. So that is something that we'd like to do as well. Make kind of television, short films, that kind of thing. Because we do like the role that the camera plays as well. Yeah. Which obviously we play with every day when we're making sketches and things. Because that is another role to add to the dynamic, which is different to stage. So we would like to delve more into that as well. And those kind of people inspire us. Like we love Tim Robinson. I think his silliness and his wackiness is something that we really aspire to have, because we think that we make weird sketches and stuff, but we watch him and then we're like, actually, we're very, very far off.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're talking about television, but what haven't you done perhaps in sketch or in performance that you want to address, that you want to look into?
Just keep running with the live stuff, really. I think because the digital platform's right in our hands, we can do that every day. It doesn't feel that different. But I think we just want to get rolling with our comedy nights again. I think because we had Edinburgh coming up, we did do a pre-Edinburgh one, but before we were doing more regular comedy nights. So we had them in Brixton, we had them in Kentish Town, London Unicorn, we had them my way in Causden, and they were just really fun. I think it's an opportunity to meet more people as well, because that's where we met most of our comedy friends, through having them on the bill, and also just gives you opportunities to try new stuff and just try new characters. Sure. So I think we want to make more of a regular night of that, something that is, Hooked and Friends, that is a regular night in a cool place.
We'd love to go to like different fringes as well.
Yeah.
Like different places, like there's like the Melbourne Comedy Festival and things like that. Obviously we'd love to. That would be a dream, yeah. I don't know if next year will be possible because of money, but we'd love to like branch out to sort of different places in the world as well. That's
we love traveling as well.
How
can we find out about where we can come and see you? How can we find out about you?
All on socials, on Holly and
socials, baby.
Oh, on socials. Holly and Brooke are hooked. We post everything on our Instagram.
Yeah.
TikTok's probably the best place to keeping up with like sketches and stuff. We do post them on Instagram as well. But yeah, Instagram will have all of our upcoming gigs, what we're up to and everything like that on there. We do have a website coming as well, so that will also have things on there. But Instagram's pretty great for being able to just
take all the information
for the current information. But Instagram.
And the last question, in line with the title of the show that I ask everybody, how would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
Ooh. You know what? I even looked at this and I thought I should pre-think about what I'm going to say about this, so I didn't do it.
You wouldn't be a comedian if you'd given it any thought in advance.
I think I would say that comedy is...
Or should I take a line from our show?
Oh yeah, take a line from the show.
Comedy is turning yourself inside out. Am I right?
I think that's pretty good, to be fair.
Yeah, that is pretty good. She wrote that there. That was pretty good.
I think it's fascinating, really. I think it's such an interesting media form. I think there's
people who turn themselves inside out.
On the outside.
And they go like this, try and get any good nuggets. Like, have I been through any trauma or anything like that?
On the outside, people that don't do comedy can just seem quite like, oh, it's just comedy. And then when you're in the comedy world, you're like, there is like so much that you just don't even realise. And I think it's
turning yourself inside out.
Turning yourself inside out. Am I right?
Holly, Brooke, thank you so much. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been fun.